Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Mali's interim leader says that he's well after he's unhurt by an assassination attempt. A man tried to stab Assimi Goita after prayers for the Islamic festival of Eid al-Adha. Also, despite facing a surge in COVID-19 infections, Senegalese families prepare to come together to celebrate Tabaski on Wednesday. Some medics fear that this year's festival could become a super spreader event. And thousands of young Cameroonian women and girls put their coding caps on and churn out dozens of innovative projects after taking part in a boot camp aimed at closing the continent's digital gender divide. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Georgia Calvin-Smith, and tonight 2 men have been arrested after trying to assassinate Mali's interim president. Witnesses say that a man tried to stab Assimi Goita in Bamako on Tuesday during Eid al-Adha celebrations. Now, Goita wasn't hurt and was quickly whisked away by his security team. But the attack does reflect the ongoing instability in a country that's seen 2 coups in less than a year. Peter O'Brien tells us more.
It was his first Eid al-Adha festival as interim president. Colonel Assimi Goita was at Bamako's Grand Mosque for prayers. Moments later, as worshippers made their way outside for an animal sacrifice, witnesses say 2 men lunged at Goita, one of them wielding a knife.
Donc ils ont fait une petite bataille. Après, les gens sont venus. Les gens sont venus, mais il y a des sang sortent. Mais les sang sortent, moi je pense que c'est pas Assimi Goita, c'est des gardes-corps qui est le sang qui sort.
The assassination attempt failed. Shortly afterwards, Goita could be seen being escorted out of the mosque. And later, he told Malian media that he was doing very well and he had a message of peace.
La fête de Tabaski était un moment de communion, de pitié et de pardon. Et je demande à tous les Maliens de saisir cette opportunité, de se pardonner et de se réconcilier pour la stabilité et la paix au Mali.
The Special Forces colonel was sworn in on June the 7th. It was the second time he'd overthrown a president in 9 months, amid serious political instability in Mali. Ibrahim Boubacar Keita was ousted last August, bar Nador in May. The second coup caused both the African Union and the Economic Community of West African States to suspend Mali and call for a civilian prime minister. Goita, though, has pledged to uphold Mali's commitment to stage elections in February next year.
Now, a South African judge has postponed the corruption trial of former President Jacob Zuma to August 10th. It's a victory for his legal team, which on Monday had tried to push back the case because of the pandemic. Now, the 79-year-old serving a 15-month sentence for contempt of court over another case. Zuma pled not guilty to 16 charges of fraud and racketeering for allegedly accepting bribes from French arms firm Thales over the 1999 purchase of military equipment.
We will submit on the contrary.
Meanwhile, French newspaper Le Monde says that an unidentified Moroccan security service may have been responsible for placing the mobile phone of President Emmanuel Macron on a list of potential targets for spyware. The Israeli-made Pegasus software is suspected of having been used to target journalists, politicians and rights activists around the world. Amazon has since said that it's shut down accounts linked to the hosting of hacking infrastructure. The Élysée is investigating Le Monde's reports. The NSO group behind Pegasus says Macron was never targeted by its clients. Meanwhile, Morocco has denied any involvement in the use of Pegasus. As Senegal prepares to celebrate Eid al-Kibir or Tabaski on Wednesday, the number of COVID-19 infections are at a record high in the country. The Muslim holiday is usually a chance for families to get together. There's often a huge rush from the cities to rural villages, and some medics fear that this year's festival could become a super spreader event. Our team reports.
On the eve of Tabaski, despite the dramatic explosion of COVID-19 cases across Senegal, Dakar's HLM market is as bustling as usual. Social distancing falls by the wayside as busy crowds prepare for the Muslim holiday. COVID is far from most minds here.
ba client yoo xam ne booy wax ak ñoom bëgguñu sax nga jege leen mais nit ñi ni ñu ko gëmee woon léegi ñu si bëri dañ ko weddee noonu man pour l'instant may wax ak yow affaire corona moom man dunduma ko moom.
The feeling seems widespread, yet the surge in infections has never before claimed so many victims here. This Dakar hospital's facing a shortage of beds for the critically ill.
C'est un peu vraiment le constat amer que nous faisons, l'augmentation, l'explosion des formes graves. Donc on est en train de faire face.
This anaesthetist expects the worst. The hospital only has 10 intensive care beds for COVID patients. She's worried too many people have dropped their guard and that there's not enough enforcement of restrictions.
Les bus sont bondés, les cars sont bondés, les marchés sont bondés. Les gens, il n'y a aucune mesure barrière qui est respectée. Le gouvernement doit prendre des mesures pour faire face à tout cela, sinon on ne s'en sortira pas. On est à bout. Ça, si quelqu'un qui dit le contraire, il n'est certainement pas dans le milieu. Les professionnels sont fatigués, que ce soit les médecins, les infirmiers, tout le monde est KO.
The government has just issued recommendations to avoid gatherings and travel. Wearing a mask remains an obligation, though. Authorities say they're following the situation closely.
Le président de la République a déjà donné l'indication il y a 2 jours. Si la situation l'exige, nous allons remettre les mesures qui étaient celles des séquences précédentes. C'est la restriction de la mobilité, c'est la limitation des déplacements.
Senegal is also facing a shortage of COVID-19 vaccines. The government says that hundreds of thousands of doses should arrive over the coming weeks.
Now, thousands of Cameroonian girls have churned out dozens of innovative projects after having taken part in a 10-day coding boot camp. The workshops were organised by the UN in the hopes of sparking a passion for programming amongst more women and help close the continent's digital gender gap. Our team reports.
With a few lines of code, virtual characters take shape on this computer screen. 12-year-old Gloria has just created her own cartoon.
Je suis en train de faire un concert où il y a une ballerine qui commence à danser. Je compte aussi créer aussi mes propres comptes Scratch pour créer mes propres bandes dessinées, mes propres jeux.
Gloria is one of several teenage girls learning the grammar and language of coding at the University of Yaoundé. About 300 students have signed up for fast-track training as part of a new scheme brought in by the UN. 18-year-old Liz is taking part in a robotics workshop. Coding is essential to create instructions in robotics, and the discipline allows students to see a tangible outcome to their programming. Liz hopes to eventually make a career out of her new skills.
I have some ideas that I would like to implement in robotics, and robotics as well is a field that, people don't see girls getting into it, but then it's something that interests me. And I feel if I, do this, I can be able to show the world what I'm capable of doing.
On va vous donner un ensemble de projets qui ont déjà des problèmes.
In Cameroon, most coding jobs are held by men. For Junior, this introductory course is a bet on a future in which more women will hopefully enter the profession.
Parce que c'est du codage, l'ordinateur ne saura pas faire la différence entre un garçon et une fille. On se rend compte que lorsque la barrière de ce qu'elles sont disparaît, elles sont tout à fait comme tout le monde. Et il y a des génies parmi elles.
Some female programmers have already struck out on their own. Ren is a coder and has been running her own business developing apps and software for the last 10 years or so.
En tant que femme, ça n'a pas été facile et je pense que ça n'est toujours pas facile puisque nous restons des exceptions et non la règle. Notre entreprise est clairement une référence puisque les entreprises avec lesquelles nous sommes en général en compétition sont de très grosses multinationales. C'est aussi une fierté de montrer qu'avec notre expérience, en étant des femmes, on peut apporter notre pierre à l'édifice.
Ren is at the vanguard of a shift that still has a long way to go. According to the UN, less than a quarter of Cameroonian women have any access to information and communications technology.
Well, that's it for Eye in Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.
In 1994, Rwanda plunged into a murderous frenzy. Few dared stand against it.
icyo gihe nari mfite imyaka 10. icyo natekereje usibye ubwoba n'uburyo warebaga n'abandi bameze abantu bose bari bafite ubwoba.
Nabonaga abantu bapfa abantu kandi bapfa bazira ubusa rero nanjye nahisemo Imana irabimbashisha ndavuga nti ubwo nibiba ngombwa akagiraho bamfatana nabo tuzajyana nta bindi.
Ces personnes-là se comportent exactement contrairement à la folie collective. Et ce sont donc des personnes qui représentent un modèle pour l'humanité.
Don't miss The Righteous of Rwanda in Reporters Plus on France 24.